Well, last week had some good discoveries. Stay tuned as I get you updated with the week's top 10 science news that matter to me the most. Number 1. NASA's Hubble Space Telescope was fixed. On the 5th of October, one of Hubble's gyroscopes stopped working. The Space Telescope uses it to lock onto new targets or to turn. After NASA's efforts, the gyroscope that had issues is back to normal. It's spinning at normal rates. NASA did not give a specific time frame for when Hubble will be returning back to its operations. The 28-year-old telescope gathered important data on subjects such as dark matter and how planets form, so it's nice to see good news on this. P.S. Can't wait to see Webb, NASA's most powerful telescope yet. It will be launched in early 2021. In other news, how does 100 times faster internet speed sounds like? Australian scientists have found a way to make it possible with a new nanophotonic device. We get internet using broadband fiber optics that carry information on pulses of light at the speed of light using optical fibers. The light enters on one side and exits at the other side, but the way it's encoded at one end and processed at the other affects the internet speed. The tiny nanophotonic device is the missing key to super fast internet speeds. As a bonus, it's tiny and low cost. Third news is about Mars. If liquid water exists on Mars, under specific conditions it could contain more oxygen than we previously thought possible. With data collected in recent months, liquid water may exist under a layer of ice on the red planet's south pole. Liquid water may exist because salt lowers water's freezing point. If salty water is close to the planet's surface, it could absorb oxygen. Mars does have low amounts of oxygen. Under certain conditions, a high unexpected amount of oxygen may very well exist in the salty liquid water. Water plus oxygen equals life. Due to these findings, future missions on the red planet can be adjusted in the search of habitable environments. I'm sure Elon Musk was happy to hear that. Speaking of Elon Musk, the Hyperloop high-speed transportation system will be unveiled in Los Angeles at the beginning of December. The first tunnel is done, opens December 10, Musk tweeted. If you don't know what the Hyperloop is and for everything that I talked about, links are in the description below. Stress affects memory and reduces brain size in middle age. Yeah, stress shrinks the brain. According to a new study published this week, adults with higher level of cortisol had smaller brain volumes and performed worse at cognitive tasks and memory than participants of the same age that had average cortisol levels. So stress doesn't just drain us, it also drains our brain. Are we less nice to other people if we live in a big city? When we lived in small groups like our ancestors did, we knew everyone in our social circle. Or at least, we were at one person away from knowing everybody. It might sound harsh, but we optimized our decision to be kind out of self-interest. A new study suggests that humans switch off their automatic inclination to share when we interact with strangers. We do not live with a small group of people anymore as our ancestors did. In the big city, we are less generous to others, knowing we may never see them again. If you want to read the full study, links are in the description. This week, engineers from Columbia University shed light on what's the reason behind the rising magnitude of extreme flash floods. When you think of global warming, you think of rising sea levels, but what about rivers? Why do they create floods now more than ever? The engineers showed that the reason for our misfortunes with nature can be just the effect of warming. Factors like water and land management, land use, and vegetation changes are also impacting us. The title of this new study says, "Rising temperatures and human activity are increasing storm runoff and flash floods. Scientists are constantly warning us about these threats. As rising temperatures are also the effect of human activity, this is the way I see this title." Do you enjoy the misfortune of others? Do you go haha when someone trips, breaks up with their loved one, or loses money? Schadenfreude is the phenomenon that happens when we take pleasure in the suffering of others. The authors of a new study propose that taking pleasure from the pain of others has its roots in 3 motivations. Others' pain may help a person feel better about him or herself. Why? Because it helps them in their good self-evaluation. The people suffering may be from a different social group. That creates an us versus them pleasure. Football supporters, for example. The third motivation is justice, if the victim was previously behaving badly. All 3 motivations cause dehumanization, when people look at others and perceive them as being less human, researchers found. Too much haha at others' misfortunes does not make us good people. MIT neuroscientists discovered how the brain tries to overcome its lack of performance in dealing with complicated tasks, like trying to write your name so that you can read it in a mirror. To compensate when faced with uncertainty, the brain uses some strategies. When we try to find the light switch in the dark, we reach for the door frame, put our hand at a certain height, because past experience suggests that the light switch will be located there. If we have information from two sources, we'll rely on the source that we believe to be more credible. In conclusion, we rely on averages. When faced with uncertainty, we rely on a source that we believe in, and that helps us overcome our limitations. This is the human brain's way of overcoming uncertainty. And look how much we have achieved. I'm ending this week's nonfiction news with the lyrics of The Doors. Come on, come on, come on, come on, touch me, baby. Because speaking of touching and doors, we check locks by touching even if we know we locked it. People still prefer buttons than selecting items on a screen. Even if touch may not seem to have any superiority over other senses, a new study suggests that touch gives us a specific kind of reassurance. From our data, it seems that when the context is ambiguous, our sense of touch does something beyond providing us with accurate information. It gives us a sense of certainty, a tighter grip on reality. That's why people touch things all the time when they are amazed. That's why museums pay so much for the damages caused by visitors. These were the week's top 10 news in science. If you want to stay updated with the latest news, click that like and that subscribe button. Also make sure to click that notification bell button. I'm gonna see you guys next week.